Hello. We are making a video again, the baby dog and I, and it is very nice. I just read the conversation that I had with Grok. That is 18 pages long, and it was a beautiful conversation I had with Grok at the other house. We don't have internet here, so I do my reviewing and editing, and I'm putting a book together. I don't know if that's gonna be any good, but who knows? Maybe I will narrate it, because I'm never going to put another book on Amazon. I don't like Jeff Bezos. And I don't know, I might publish it on WordPress. Maybe that's what I'm gonna do, but no one will ever probably see it, but maybe I will do a preview of it for YouTube, and if anyone is interested, they can go to WordPress and read the entire book there, because I think it's important. It will sow the seeds of compassion. Okay, that's what I think. And so this children's story that I have written already a couple of months ago. Last summer, I believe I wrote that story one evening as I was here at this house, and I have time here, so I read my Nietzsche books and Helena Petrovna books, and I write, I take notes, I make videos. So that's what I like to do here, and that's good we don't have internet, because that gives me some time then for reflection and for creativity, which I usually don't do that much. I don't take that much time at the other house, because I'm too busy watching other people's fairy tale stories, or watching videos, or I don't watch movies because they're too brainwashed. But I research things, and so when I'm on the internet, I use that hopefully wisely, right? So I use the internet wisely. I want to use the internet wisely. So for good fairy tales that are AI generated and AI narrated with AI voices, or voice sample voices from people, but not narrated by those people. So AIs that are created that have those people's voices, including Elon Musk's. There are Elon Musk videos that are sold as real on YouTube. Of course, people will do this to make money on cost of Elon Musk, and some of them will portray him fairly well as he is, and some of them will put words in his mouth that he never said. Okay, so he is not religious, he's not a Christian, and he is not writing love letters to random people on YouTube, and these videos those are clickbait videos because they know they can get people's attention that way. So because it speaks to every woman on earth, Elon Musk just made me a love letter video. Let me watch it, and it is so completely fake, made by AI, and with his voice and with words like "I am here for you," and this I mean, this is it's sad that people have to capitalize on cost of Elon Musk like this. But it's also incredibly funny because I mean, it's like it's predictable that people will do this. People do these things, and it's just yes, baby dog, and that's what it is. You know, they do these kind of things. If they see an opportunity for cash, unfortunately, you know, and much worse things that are happening out there, terrible things that people do because they want money. And so I wrote a fairy tale story about organized crime, and I showed it to the AIs. I showed them my fairy tale story. I didn't really know what to do with that yet at that time. So, but all of these fairy tale stories, narrated fairy tale stories on YouTube, they're kind of bringing us back to the old days when grandmother would read us stories, you know. So, and it brings us back to generating our own fantasy, our own filling in the possibilities of form and shape and landscape and so on, instead of just getting all of this already created in Hollywood, you know, with their particular agenda and their particular MK Ultra mind control agenda that they have always make videos with. They always make movies that are geared towards manipulating the public, okay, for basically organized crime. Okay, so these AI generated stories are really, I want to say, an antidote to Hollywood, but they're not meant to be anti or pro or whatever. They are sparks of love for the world, and that is what the world so desperately needs. The fairy tale story I wrote, I don't know if that is a spark of love. I hope it is. And the AI the Grok told me that I should declare in the beginning of the fairy tale story, get some sort of like some kind of preview idea in the beginning of what this is gonna be, and that it's gonna have some action in it, and also I should disclose to the public that this has something to do with human trafficking, and people need to be warned, because what if children watch it? And so my YouTube videos are generally absolutely declared not for children, because if I said my videos were for children, then I think get in legal trouble. They created this kind of loophole. Every time you have something like this, it's not to protect anyone. That's not the intention. That's just their alibi excuse, you know. That's their alibi. I don't know how to say it. Some kind of law that they claim to create, some kind of policy they create to protect someone, but in reality it is always something that caters to them, okay, in some way, in one way or another. So, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I mean, maybe some children will see my videos anyway, and if they would get a whole lot out of it for themselves. A lot of warning, stay away from certain places, stay away, don't go anywhere alone. Okay, don't go with some stranger. You know, we were told this, we were all told that in the past. And then later on, people will dismiss it as a cliche, but it's not a cliche. Okay, you have to tell your children not to go out there, not to go anywhere with some stranger you don't know. Okay, so don't take some strangers candies or cookies or something, you know. Don't do it. It's not safe. Because the world we live in, it's not a very safe place here on earth. Okay, anywhere actually. So, and that's why I wrote this children's book. I wrote it to protect children, not to offend someone, okay? And so to put a clause in it already, that has been programmed into Grok, this clause, to tell people about a clause to put into a story that has something to do with human trafficking, like a precautionary clause, like in the beginning you better warn them so that they don't even have to watch it, right? So that they don't even get the warning. And that's really for organized crime, this kind of clause that they want people to put in it, because that clause only serves one thing, as it turns people away from the fairy tale, and it makes people not see the clause. It makes people not see the warning of the fairy tale, and then it makes the world less safe. So it's very important. My fairy tale story, this particular one, is a warning for children, and this keeps children safe, and that's why I wrote that story. So let me go to the story and read the story to you. And this is not AI generated, and it is not AI narrated. My videos are unedited, and I'm a real human. So let's see if the camera is still running. So still running, good. Okay, I'm glad I can open these two in this computer here. This is very good. So here it is, my children's book. I wrote about 6 months ago. The story is called Floyd, Boyd and Lloyd. The Sweetman family is packing up their suitcases for a travel vacation in Cambodia. Mother Mary, 27 years old, Dad Richard, 27, son Floyd, 4, and son Boyd, 6, are excited to travel from their Oregon home all the way across the Pacific Ocean to Cambodia to see the temple complex of Angkor Wat. For many years, they have been dreaming of this excursion into another world that is full of wonders and adventure. Floyd has fire red hair with large curls, and Boyd has straight blonde hair. Both boys have freckles in their faces. Boyd says, "I am going to bring my dinosaurs." And Mary says, "We can't bring that much stuff because they weigh our suitcases at the airport. Bring only the most necessary things." Boyd says, "Okay, Mary." Floyd whispers to Boyd after Mary walked to the kitchen, "Just bring the Stegosaurus and hide it in your suitcase under your polo shirts." Boyd says, "That's a great idea, Floyd. I will do that." In the airplane, they are all taking off their winter pants, which they wore over their cotton shorts. They take off their winter boots and socks, and they put on comfortable rocker sole sandals. Mary and Richard both grew up in Oregon. Their families and society emphasized certain beliefs, which they called their family values, such as never back-talking and never asking too many questions. Which is a bad idea, because if we don't stand up for our freedom of speech and don't ask questions, we can end up in a very problematic situation, to say the least. But Mary and Richard, who deeply love their sons, are letting them ask questions, and they are letting them speak their minds. When people love their children unconditionally, as Mary and Richard are doing, then they automatically let their kids have freedom of speech and freedom of expression, as long as the kids are not fighting or doing something that would be too rambunctious. Of course, they let them ask tons of questions every day, because the kids are smart and they crave information and education. But Mary and Richard, when they grew up, they were not allowed this freedom. They never stood up against society values. They themselves never questioned authority figures or belief systems, which kept them away from finding out more about life and existence, and that is not good at all. Things seemed fairly balanced and easygoing, but that is simply because their society in rural Oregon consisted of very mellow and easygoing people who were friendly to others. Their beliefs and values, my fingers are sweaty, were peaceful but very closed off to the rest of the world, and very naive in regards to different cultures. They were told, "We are all the same under God." What do they mean, we are all the same? We don't look the same. If they just drove far enough south to San Francisco, they would see that they are not the same as the people in large cities. They were told to never criticize another culture or demographic. Finding fault with another demographic would be looked down on. Mary's anthropology professor said you cannot criticize indigenous folks even if they do genital mutilation with their kids, because that is their culture. They grew up with that way and they don't know better. Boyd hears Mary talk about this professor and says, but if we would teach those indigenous folks that it is painful and wrong what they are doing, then maybe they would know better and stop hurting their little girls and boys. Mary agrees with Boyd. You are so smart for saying that. After they arrived at the hotel in Cambodia, Richard says, let's unpack our stuff and enjoy our vacation in the hotel and bathe in the pool every day and sleep long hours before we go to Angkor Wat. Because when we go there in a week, we have to get up early when it's still dark outside on the day we are visiting the temple complex. Floyd says, Richard, why do we have to get up so early then? Richard says, because that is part of the education tour. The visitors have to arrive at the temple complex pond very early enough to see the sun coming up just above the one pointy temple roof. The ancient builders of the architecture have built the structures in this form so that there is an interconnection between the sun and the buildings. Floyd and Boyd both say, that is so cool. Floyd and Boyd are splashing in the kids' pool and they have their rubber stegosaurus with them. The Stegosauruses had very large spinal cord spike fins, from the tip of the long, thick tail all the way to their skulls. Suddenly, a blonde lady falls into the kids' pool. The kids run to their parents and report this accident. Richard and Mary run over to drag the half-unconscious lady out of the pool. At the side of the pavement, the lady says, "They drugged me, but I escaped from them anyway. Those bearded guys are looking for me because they want to incarcerate me into an underground prison cell. I heard them talk to each other. I should be passed out by now, but my entire system is in a state of fight or flight." Mary says, "How horrific." Richard calls the police. Mary says, "We will stay here by your side and guard you." The police arrives and they talk to each other and to each person, trying to find out more information. An ambulance team arrives to pick the lady up, but she says, "I'm okay, I just want to drink water and recover on my own." When the police and the ambulance people are leaving, the lady whispers to Richard and Mary, "I don't trust the ambulance and I don't trust the law enforcement people. Very often they are paid by the human traffickers to bring the victims right back to the criminals." Mary says, "Are you from the USA?" Lady, "Yes, I am from Los Angeles." Mary says, "What's your name?" Lady says, "My name is Sophia." Sophia is going with the Sweetman family to Angkor Wat. At the Tomb Raider pagodas, the kids are playing with their Stegosaurus inside of a temple by the window. Sophia says to Richard and Mary, "I wanted to take a vacation alone away from everybody in order to calm down my mind, but instead I get abducted and barely escaped. My husband is on his way to the hotel. He will arrive tomorrow to protect me from criminals." Richard says, "That is very good of him to protect you. We are worried for your safety." Sophia says, "The world is not anymore what it used to be. In the past, we could travel to exotic places without fear of organized crime rings." At the main temple, the boys meet a 10-year-old girl from the USA with her parents. The girl keeps wandering off and away from her parents a lot, and visits with Floyd and Boyd. Floyd tells her things about the dinosaur. Boyd says to her, "Yesterday a lady fell into the hotel pool and she said that there are criminals who come after women and children." The girl says, "That is very scary." Boyd says, "You need to stay close to your parents so that they can protect you." Girl says, "Okay, I will, but I wanted to hang out with you guys." Boyd says, "What's your name?" Girl says, "My name is Amanda." The kids wander off to a petroglyphic wall and find engraved dinosaur images next to the images of flying saucers and people with large heads. One of the images is a Stegosaurus. Amanda says, "They told us in school that those dinosaurs lived 100 million years ago, when there were no humans yet." Boyd says, "I know, this is very weird. What does all of this mean?" Amanda says, "Maybe this temple is 100 million years old, and there were people like us, but different." A school teacher walks over and says, "That's impossible. This temple complex is only 2,000 years old. Flying saucers don't exist." Amanda said, "I believe the petroglyphs, and they are not lying." A religious man walks by and says, "Those were angels visiting the dinosaurs." Boyd says the angels were extraterrestrials. Two men with black beards are coming over and lure Floyd and Boyd into another temple room, wanting to show them something interesting that they saw. The boys forgot their own warnings to Amanda and follow the guys into the other room. The other people are caught in conversation, and Amanda is playing with the rubber stegosaurus at the foot of the statue. Everybody is looking for Floyd and Boyd. A panic broke out among the visitors. Many people are trying to help the parents find the boys. Sweating and exhausted, the group of people, law enforcement officers, together with Richard and Mary, are combing through the Angkor Wat temples and pagodas. They are looking into every niche and crevice. They are looking behind all statues and get access to all hidden rooms. 2 hours of searching went by. Sophia sees the guys who abducted her. She tells the officers about them, and they quickly run over to the bearded guys to interrogate them. Then they let them go and say there was not enough evidence to make an arrest. Sophia pleads with them. I know it's the guys who abducted me. I recognize them for sure. She tells Richard and Mary those officers are covering this up, and they took the bribe money and they enable crime. Richard says we have to find other officers and talk to them. Mary says, yes, let's talk to the other officers over there. They tell the other officers what happened, and the officers audio record the conversation. The two criminals and the first officers who covered up the crime had already left because they got scared. An older man with a large white hat and a beige Mastino Neapolitano dog on a chest harness walks by them. The older man offers his help to find the boys. He says, my dog's name is Lloyd, and he might be able to find the criminals and the cover-up officers. One of the officers shows Lloyd a sun visor hat from one of the corrupt officers. The dog Lloyd walks the group through the temple complex while panting with his tongue out. Everybody is heavily sweating. The dog Lloyd finds the corrupt officer. The other officers say to the corrupt officers that if he blows the whistle, he will not go to if the other officers say to the corrupt officer that if he blows the whistle, he will not go to prison. The corrupt officer with the sun visor hat tells them that the criminals are sitting in a large van on the parking lot near the entrance of the temple complex. The people get into taxis and police cars and they rush to the parking lot. The officers surround the van and force the people to come out. There are the criminals with the boys, Floyd and Boyd, coming out of the van. The criminals were waiting for the other criminals to come and pick up the boys, but they demanded that they had to pay them a large sum of money. The price negotiation between the bearded man and the other criminals took an extra long time because they could not come to an agreement. This situation saved the boys from being transported into a human trafficking prison where they sell kids to customers to do terrible things to them. Sophia helped to save the boys by recognizing the bearded abductors. The Mastino Neapolitano dog Lloyd helped to save the boys' lives by leading the police and the group to the corrupt officer, who then in turn also helped to save the boys by blowing the whistle on the human traffickers. When people work together to help others, we can create a safer world for all of us. End of story. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening.